a big portion of what we do is prevention education. Earlier this year, we partnered with the Children's Alliance to help create the human trafficking training for foster parents. So now there's a really great module available that uses a lot of our film content in that to have some standardized training for foster parents across the state. I've done training for foster parents for a long time. I know there's a lot of other groups that do it, but we're really excited about there being something that's accessible to everybody across the state where everybody's getting the same quality of training and hitting the same learning objectives and things. And so we were really excited to get to partner with that. I think the most misunderstood thing about human trafficking is there is still a very strong belief that it is always tied to kidnapping. We see things circulate all the time around, there was a weird guy at Walmart and don't let your kids, walk through the parking lot. And it's not that you shouldn't be aware of your surroundings. I think that's very smart. But the reality is we don't really see that tied to trafficking nearly as much as people think. In fact, in 12 years of doing this in the Wichita area, I don't know of a single case where we've had, a kidnapping in a public place in broad daylight that was tied to trafficking. Does kidnapping happen? Yes. It's very rare, especially stranger kidnapping. And so what we see with trafficking is it happens within a relationship, whether that's an existing relationship. And, unfortunately, we see trafficking situations where the parent or family member is the trafficker, or it happens in the context of a relationship that was built and cultivated for that. And so I think we do a real disservice to our kids, especially kind of pounding home this stranger danger message, when in reality, what we need to be talking to them about is relationship dynamics. And, who are you interacting with online? Who are your friends at school? This older person that all of a sudden is taking an interest in you, what is their motive? What is their, thought process? And getting them to think critically about, the people and the interactions in their life, versus, constantly being scared that somebody's going to, run up and snatch them, because that's just not really the reality. Where I sit, I see the worst of the worst of things that people do to each other. And I still think the world is a good place. I still think most people are good. I think we have to teach our kids discernment, and we have to teach them to think about, situations and people and actions. And, their little brains aren't fully formed yet. And so we have to run alongside them and help them learn those things and make those decisions. And when we mess up, or when they mess up, when we all mess up, we got to have a little grace for each other. And, they need to know that they can come to us when something happens versus hide it. Because especially with trafficking and exploitation, that's what that perpetrator is banking on. We've seen a huge uptick in online exploitation the last several years, especially coming out of the pandemic. And, kids have been very isolated, and there was just a natural shift into those online spaces anyway with technology. And that really got magnified, I think, through COVID. And so thinking about, those interactions, what that person on the other end of, that conversation is hoping for is that they can get this kid in a situation where they're embarrassed and ashamed and scared. And now that they've got control. And so, they get them to send a photo or whatever. And now it's, send me another one, or I'm going to post this, or I'm going to tell your parents, or I'm going to send it around school. And so I get asked a lot when I go out and train and teach on this topic as parents, what can we be doing, or what can we be looking for? And I love our internet crimes sergeant here has the best answer for this, because I think people always want this technological answer, right? Like, what app can I put on my kid's phone to spy on them or whatever? And his answer every single time is sit down at the dinner table and have dinner with your kids and have a conversation about what's going on in their world. And, it's that saying about, if they can trust you with the little things, they'll trust you with the big things. And so we've got to create those spaces for our kids where they know, they can come to us when something makes them feel uncomfortable, or something has gone a step further than they planned on it, and now they don't feel like they have control of it anymore, rather than hiding and staying in that place where someone can continue to manipulate them.